The story starts with a young man practicing martial arts in the training area. He slowly moves his hands in a rhythm and stands straight with a fighting stance. After that, while performing martial arts, he thinks, remember, the reason why you gave up many things for such a long period of time was to solely focus on training. Why did I need to do this when I could have lived a life no different from others, you may ask. I have a near impossible goal that I'm aiming for, you see. Is that weird? Is it because it's a goal that any person can easily attain? Although many stories end with I lived a long and happy life. You better give it another thought. Was the process to that end really normal? The process definitely wasn't normal, and gives the true meaning to what live a normal life full of happiness really entails. That's why I dream of living a normal life full of happiness. I thought that I would be able to attain such a goal easily. I didn't act special like some idiot just because I had something the others didn't. Since there were always friends, who would call me out for acting like a retard at the times I did. I didn't even have time to be lonely, since I had such an amazing wife like this. That's why I have to be careful, since I know that a long life of happiness can easily turn into just a moment of happiness. Since I know how easy it is to destroy the living a normal life full of happiness. There are always people who will interfere. These bastards that don't know how hard it is to live a normal life in happiness. Meanwhile, later the owner tells the people who are eating food that, Sir Warriors, I wonder if the food and the drinks were to your liking. Then they reply, it wasn't bad. We'll come by often. After that, the waiter tells them that I'll be grateful. But now is the time for us to close the shop. Then the man with a mustache says, I was just starting to enjoy myself. And his fellow bald man asks the waiter what kind of bar closes so early. Then the owner replies, I'm sorry, Sir Warriors. I'll be sure to take good care of you the next time you stop by. After listening to him, the man with a mustache says, forget it. This place must have its own reasons for closing early. Also, isn't today the day we decided to settle down in this place? After that, our protagonist thinks, seeing guys like this makes it hard to hold myself back. Meanwhile, the bald man tells the owner that you're lucky our eldest brother is in a good mood. Looks like the owner got lucky as well. Then the owner replies, thank you for being understanding. After the man with a mustache stands up and tells his fellow younger brothers to let's go. Then while seeing them leaving the place, the waiter stops and tells them, Sir Warriors, I'm sure you're just forgetting, but you haven't paid yet. Then one of them asks him, how much is it? After that, the owner replies, it's a little over 4 nyang, but since I feel bad having you guys leave early, I'll just take 4 nyang. Then the guy says, really? Put it on my tab. I'll be frequenting here from now on anyway. Right. Also, we'll be charging 14 nyang a month for protection fees for this place. We'll start collecting tomorrow, so don't forget to prepare it. Meanwhile, listening to them, our hero says, thinking about it, well, I guess I didn't have to hold myself back. After that, the guy talking to the owner thinks there will be resistance at first. I'll have to beat him up good, since an example must be set from the beginning. Then the owner replies, yes, I understand. I'll be sure to have it prepared. After listening to him, the guy thinks, what's this? He's not even going to complain. Then the man with a mustache says, looks like you're pretty quick-witted. Seeing as how the owner of this place is being so cooperative, we'll have to do our best to protect this place. After that, the guy says, that's right. We're off to a good start. Then saying all that, they all leave and the owner tells them, have a safe trip back, Sir Warriors. After seeing them leave, the owner says, it was quiet for a while, but looks like moths are starting to gather around the fire again. Then his servant asks him, owner, what shall we do now? And tells him that they said that they would come again tomorrow. After that, the owner replies, there's nothing to worry about. Then the servant asks, but sir, why don't we have to worry? After that, the owner replies, I told you not to worry, alright. It should be your first time in Hatong. Then the owner looks above and tells him that there is that person here in. After that, the servant asks, that person? Then the owner replies, yeah, that person. And tell him, that's so you should stop worrying. Clean up and go to sleep. Meanwhile, listening to his owner, he thinks, that person who is he talking about? After that, later while sitting next to a bonfire, the man with a mustache thinks a little more. If I train for just one more year, double scythe yuk sanghyang, will have enough strength to rule over an area. I will unite all the underground forces in the country. After that he notices something and says my, looks like I have a guest. To think I didn't notice your presence till you got this close. After that while standing in front of him our hero thinks instead of a story about an expert hiding his strength while living among normal people. I decided to live the story of becoming an expert that came out of hiding to become an MC that uses his strength as he pleases, is because of bastards like these. Then he tells the man that you don't have to be so wary. I just came to have a talk. After that the man with a mustache asks him, does that mean you're planning on getting in my way in the end? Then after listening to him he replies, you'll have to make a choice. Either leave this place quietly, or become a cripple. After that the brothers of that man also stand up to fight him. Then he tells them, you guys will have to choose as well. You'll only get this once chance. After that the bald man asks him, who the hell are you? Then he tells the mustache man that since you're the leader, you'll have to take responsibility for those guys attacking. As soon as one of them attacks me, I won't be holding back. After listening to him the leader of their group tells him, you look pretty young, but I like the guts you have. I like kids like you, but I wonder if you have the skills to back up such confidence. After that he replies, you don't have to be curious. All the guys who were curious ended up regretting it. And I had to go against my wishes and use my strength when that happened. After that the group leader asks him, do you think I'm the same as those retards? Then he replies, you should think carefully. This is something that will dictate how your life will turn out from here on out. They say that there comes a time where you have to make a choice that'll change your life, and now is that time for you. After listening to him the group leader gets angry and says, kid, I can't stand your nonsense anymore. Then one of the members from the group goes to attack him with his weapon. Meanwhile looking at this he says, looks like it'll be nothing out of expectation. It's like clockwork. Then listening to him the group leader asks him, what nonsense are you saying? After that he replies, you have no idea how precious the chance at such a choice is. Then he looks at them with his angry eyes and stands in his fighting stance with bare hands. Meanwhile looking at him the group leader gets shocked and thinks, considering how he erased his presence to get this close, and sensing his aura now he must not be your normal kid. After that he asks him, coming at this double scythe Yuk Sanghyang barehanded. Are you looking down on me? After listening to him he replies, seeing as how you aren't attacking me easily means that your instincts are correct. And also asks him, shouldn't you trust these instincts more? After which the leader gets angry and our protagonist tells them that it was pretty good that you were able to recognize my strength, but it looks like you can't avoid the stares of your subordinates. Then suddenly the leader tells his fellow members to attack him. After that they start running towards him to attack him, but the MC doesn't even move from his place. Then suddenly 3 of them attacks him with their weapons and the bald man tries to kill him with sword. But he dodges him by slightly bending towards the right side. And while dodging the bald man's sword he thinks that's not the level of fighting you'd see from. After that he looks up and sees that the other one is also attacking him with the sword. Then he suddenly stops the sword hit by his 2 fingers. And this thing makes that man shocked at how this happened. While looking at this the leader of the group tells him that parrying a sword with your finger you're quite skilled. After that the bald man again runs towards him to attack him with his sword. But he stops the attack by slightly twisting his arms on the sword's edge. And suddenly raises his hand up to hit the bald man straight on his face. At this moment the bald man doesn't know what to do because all of his moves are coming all of a sudden. He then places his foot on the bald man's leg and suddenly slams him to the ground. After which he looks at the other man who is coming towards him to attack him with his sword. And while looking at his sword he thinks he still lacks experience with the sword. After that he raises his hand and suddenly hits his arms on that man's chest, from which that man falls back to the ground. Meanwhile all of a sudden the bald man again tries to hit him with his sword, but suddenly he sees that the guy just disappeared. After that he tells the bald man that I'm here above you. Then he looks up and sees him above his head, and while looking at this in full shock he thinks, how did he get so high just by pushing his ankles? After which all of a sudden he kicks him on his jaw and fully knocks him out to the ground. Then after looking at this the leader of the group gets angry and takes out his weapon to attack him, but he again by bending down easily dodges his weapon like he did before. The leader of the group tries again and again, but he easily dodges his every move like he is playing with a child. After that suddenly he stops his sword with his 2 fingers and tells him that I've seen everything there is to see. You're certainly the closest to the level of a first rate. Then listening to him the leader gets angry and thinks he's winning against me in terms of raw strength. After which he again goes towards him to attack him, and while attacking he tells him, "You bastard. I'll cut you into pieces." Then he again stops his weapon just by using his 2 fingers and tells the group leader that that won't be enough. After listening to him the group leader thinks, how the hell is he so strong? Then he suddenly grabs the group leader's weapon, and while looking at this the group leader asks him, "You rascal. Who on earth are you?" After which he replies, "I definitely gave you a chance." Then he leaves his weapon and the group leader again goes to attack him. After which by using his ancient martial art techniques he suddenly hits his hand on the group leader's shoulder and breaks his bone into pieces. Then while looking at this that his shoulder joints are broken he gets shocked but again tries to attack him with his other hand. But he suddenly hits on his other shoulder and breaks it too. After which he aggressively punches him on his chest just by using his one hand. Then he suddenly stops and with a one big hit he knocks the group leader to the ground. After that he tells the group leader that it'd be great if you'd chosen a different way of life. A normal life where you had known the taste of happiness. I gave you plenty of chances. Meanwhile later in the village everyone sees the body of the knocked members of that group, and on the chest of the leader there was a note in which the thug is written. And from the ground he is watching all this. After that he leaves that place and goes somewhere else in the 100 Fragrances pavilion. And in that place a guy is sitting and telling all of this story that we saw from the start to the people. He tells the people that's how Sanghyang, the man known as the Double Scythe, ended up retiring from the martial world. The interesting part of the story starts now. After telling the whole story to the people he says that's how Sanghyang, the man known as the Double Scythe, ended up retiring from the martial world. Then he asked the people that, "You like that? Well, his story always gets a good reaction. So you want to hear his story from the beginning?" After asking that he tells the people that, however, before we talk about him there's something you should know first. Then he again asked the people that, "Have you heard about this? If the god has descended into the sword, so has the demon into the blade." It refers to the martial artists who are like legends in the martial world. After listening to him people reply, "Yes, we've heard about it. The divine sword and the demonic blade." And they also tell him that we'll have to start with their story. Then he replies, "I know you guys are eager to hear the tale. But I guarantee you'll also like the story of the divine sword and the demonic blade, and the battle of that day. I'll start now." After that the story starts with cold weather in which a snowstorm is going on. And we see an army and its squad leader Wan Nahan, who is 36 years old. And on the other side we see Gu Jungseo, who is the wing commander. Both of them are running through the snowy forest with their army. And while running suddenly Gu Jungseo tells Wan Nahan that squad leader Wan, "I think they got tired and gave up. The kids can barely keep up, let's take a break here." After listening to him Wan looks at him but he doesn't reply. And after seeing his eyes Gu Jungseo thinks the look in his eyes. On the other hand while running the army is getting tired because of fatigue and bad weather. After that Wan Nahan tells him that just because we don't see them doesn't mean they won't follow us. Stopping here could mean death. Then listening to him Gu Jungseo shouts at him and tells him that we've already been running for 42 kilometers. Damn it. Whether we die by a blade or from our hearts bursting after all this running, it's all the same. Please, let us rest now. After that Wan Nahan replies, "All right, but I won't take the responsibility for your lives." And also tells him that your lives belong to you, make your own choices. Though if you still insist on resting, go there. After listening to the squad leader Wan, Gu Jungseo orders the army to take a break in the bamboo forest. Then everyone takes a rest in the bamboo forest and starts treating each other's wounds with medicines. Meanwhile a guy asks his fellow ally, "Rascal, you just won't give up on living, will you?" And sarcastically tells him that don't worry about anything and just die. "I'll take good care of your wife day and night." After listening to him that guy replies, "Crazy bastard. You should be the one dying, you trash. I'm going back alive no matter what. And call her sister-in-law, you jerk." Meanwhile, looking at them the wing commander Gu Jungseo slightly smiles and suddenly tells all of them that, "You rascals want me to put you to eternal rest. Don't let your guard down. After giving this order to the army, he looks at squad leader Wan Nahan, who is sitting at the other side of the bamboo forest alone. Meanwhile, sitting alone on the other side, he is thinking about his past 15 years ago, in which he was telling his master that you're both my mother and father. I slept on your chest, played on your lap, and lived off of your love. How could I not understand the depth and profoundness of your grace? Even if I were to carry your frail body and circle Mount Meru 1,000 times, I couldn't even repay a fraction of your kindness. But no matter how much I try, I can't help but hold on to my blood ties. I can't ignore the call of blood. Even if I try to bury it deep within me, I can't endure its cry. So please forgive me, master. After listening to him, the master asks him, what do I do with you? And tells him that Nahan, it's not that I fear your search for your blood ties. I'm worried and saddened by the karma that will be accumulated because of it. After remembering his past, he suddenly tells his army that everyone look, it's winter, so while it's bound to be cold, it won't be unbearable. If you're in a situation where you have to face them, and death crosses your mind, throw yourself into the fight and risk your life. I'll do the same. If you make it out alive, let that be the end of your ties with the Bloody Wing Alliance. The tide has already turned. After listening to him, Gu Jungseok asks him, squad leader Wan, what nonsense is this? Even if all of this was for money, how can a man just give up on a promise like that? After listening to him, Wan Nahan slightly smiles, and while looking at him, Gu Jungseok thinks a few words from him, and the Bloody Wing Alliance will be in a crisis. I can't let that happen. After that, he runs towards Wan and tries to attack him with his sword, but suddenly stops. And by looking at this, both of the armies get against each other, but Wan stops the army to attack on Gu Jungseok. Then Gu asks him, the tide has turned. Turn our backs on them. Give me a reason that makes sense, squad leader Wan. After listening to him, he stands still and doesn't reply to Gu, and while looking at this, that he is not saying something, Gu thinks this mission failed. But the fight between the Bloody Wing Alliance and the Gongsun clan isn't over yet. What on earth is he thinking right now? Then suddenly Wan asks him, do you want to know my true intentions? And tells him that then let me tell you a secret you'd rather not hear. Meanwhile, listening to him, Gu Jungseok thinks wandering mercenary. A martial artist who isn't bound to any group. They are usually martial artists who fight for money wherever help is needed. The term wandering mercenary is for people who sell their martial arts skills for money. Even if he's a wandering mercenary, he's limb-severing demonic blade Ban Nahan. He isn't someone who will break his promise easily. The weight of his name doesn't lose out when it's compared to the alliance leader. After that, Wan Nahan asks him, do you want to know if I'm telling the truth? Then he replies, I do. After which Wan tells him that I'm sure you'll regret knowing it though. Then Gu Jungseok keeps his sword down and asks him, what does that mean? After that, Wan asks him, you have been loyal to the Bloody Wing Alliance for over 10 years, right? Then he replies, the time I was with them, since they were named the Bloody Dragon Merchant Group, it'll be 14 years. After which Wan tells him that I had heard about you from time to time in the past. It's hard to see someone so loyal in the demonic faction, but they say you're one of them. Actually, that's the reason why I chose you to follow me on this mission. That's why I was relaxed, but to think things would turn out like this. That dumb guy really has no right to live. After listening to him, Gu asks him, what in the world are you talking about? Who is that dumb guy you're talking about? Then Wan asks him, have you perhaps heard of the saying that a lion, even when dead, doesn't lose its aura? Even scavengers won't approach it, as it will be left defiled by parasites from the inside. Then Gu again asks him, parasites inside a lion? What in the world should that mean? After which Wan replies, it's a saying from the Brahma Sutra from Buddhism. The king of the beasts, the lion, doesn't lose its aura even when dead. That's why other beasts don't dare to mess with its corpse, nor do the bugs. But there are parasites that treat its corpse as a haven. Only they dare devour the corpse of the lion. After listening to him carefully, Gu Jungseok says, damn it. Just what in the world are you babbling about? And tells him that I, Gu Jungseok, am a stupid person who's only trained in the blade my whole life. Don't beat around the bush, and just tell me straight. After that, Wan tells him that the target of this mission is someone around the age of 50, and part of the Gongsun clan's Roaring Wind Sword Squad. The only ones that know about this mission are you, me, and one other person. Then after listening to it, Gu Jungseo gets shocked. And Won tells him that we tried to be as secretive as possible, but we've still ran into the Gongsun clan's Iron Bow squad. And even the Iron Sword squad, as if they were greeting our expected arrival. I decided to team up with you out of everyone else just in case something like this would happen. That dumb guy must have thought that killing me was more important than saving you. After listening to him, Gu Jungseo thinks that's not possible. That just can't be possible. I've given my loyalty for 14 years just to be thrown away so easily. Besides, what is the Bloody Dragon Squad? Isn't it his most loyal force? Then after thinking all that, because of frustration in his mind, he gets angry and shouts that's impossible. And asks Won that, are you trying to say that the Young Alliance leader drove us to such a state? Why would he? He wouldn't gain anything from such a thing, would he? After that, Won Nahan replies that's because your Young Alliance leader is not only stupid, but also narrow-minded. Well, it's partially your fault too. Then Gu asks him, what do you mean? After that, Won Nahan also asks him, what kind of person am I? Then Gu replies, a wandering mercenary. After that, Won tells him that then you should know that I would leave without a thought once the job is done, right? Then Gu replies, of course. And asks him, isn't that how wandering mercenaries are? After that, Won replies, right. It's because your Young Alliance leader can't comprehend this simple fact that even you can figure out. This is what makes him a Marone that's worth even less than a bug. And also asks him that, do you remember your expression and your Young Alliance leader's dumb face when I picked you? After that, Gu Jungseo thinks when the limb-severing demonic blade picked me to go with him on this mission, I was happy since he was someone strong. It's normal for a martial artist to look up to someone stronger than them. Also the Young Alliance leader's expression. Could it be? No, although the Young Alliance leader is narrow-minded and loves to be at the center of attention, even during an important mission like this too. After thinking all that, he says it doesn't make any sense. Then Won Nahan smiles and says it's because it doesn't make any sense that we're at a disadvantage now. And tells him that the target is from the renowned strongest sword clan, the Gongsun clan. On top of that, their eldest young master, Gong Sonwoo, is someone with a broad heart and martial artist called the Divine Sword. Totally different from the Young Alliance leader you serve. After saying all that, Won asks him, do you get it now? Then after listening to him, Gu again thinks there's no way this is possible. I have to confirm it. I have to confirm it myself, with my own two eyes. After which Won Nahan says you may not be able to confirm it yourself. It's hard enough to return back alive, but even if you do, can you even take it up with that dumbass? After saying all that, he puts his hand on Gu Jungseo's shoulder and tells him that, but you don't have to worry. And also asks him, haven't you heard of the saying that all things will one day return? Then asking him that, he tells Gu that let's get going. Since we've rested enough, we're one step closer to death, as well as one step closer to revealing the truth. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Gongsun clan army arrives. Anna, before arriving, the squad leader of the army told his father that please reconsider it, father. You know better than I do that it isn't that serious. It's been roughly 90 years since our clan has set roots in this place, Anju. The prestige that we've built up during this time isn't small. It can crumble in an instant. Also, many of the young people who will lead our clan in the future will die. After listening to him, his father had replied that I know this very well. I, and even my uncles, know how much of a gamble this decision is. But what can we do? No matter how sharp the knife you wield is, people won't know unless you take it out of its sheath. After that, Woogyong told his father that please think about this again. Then his father replied that I want to see the clan rise high and beyond in this world before this body of mine ages and collapses. I want to hear people call our clan the Great Gongsun Clan instead of just Gongsun Clan. I want to hear people call our clan the Great Gongsun Clan instead of just Gongsun Clan. Meanwhile, after remembering his father's words, Woogyong thinks I will have to live on carrying this embarrassment starting today. Going against the heavens and living only for personal gains. I will have to throw away the righteousness that I have lived with all my life, and dirty these eyes of mine that have always looked at the pure heavens. After that, a guy from the army asks him, brother, are you sure that they haven't already passed us? Then Wugiang replies to Wusang that it's already been 5 years since you came under me. But you're still yet to throw away that impatient personality of yours. Has my teaching been useless to you? Well, not like your personality would change so easily. You're just like the youngest uncle whose impatient personality is the same even at that age. Let's wait a bit longer. After that they all notice something and Wugiang says, speak of the devil. Looks like more survived than expected. Everyone, get ready. Then he tells his brother Wusang that you mustn't step in front of the limb-severing demonic blade. I'm not too worried about the others, but you always worry me. After listening to him he replies he's someone who took the arm of my older brother. And asks Wugiang, how do you expect me to hold back? Then Wugiang says, hey, did your brother lose his arm because he was weaker than you? You should know how to fall back if you know you're weaker. Didn't I tell you this before? I have faced him once before. Even I wouldn't be able to guarantee a win against him. How would I face the youngest uncle if I were to lose you here as well? After listening to him Wusang replies, I got it. I'll make sure that I won't approach him first. After that the army goes to charge on Wan Nahan and his army. Meanwhile on the other hand, after seeing them coming to attack them, Wan says, I thought they were following us from behind. But they're coming from the front. I thought that we lost those who were following us too easily. Then after listening to him Gu Jungseo thinks it was true. Seeing as how they are already waiting for us in the front, I have to live. Although I'm not afraid of death, this is the group I sacrificed my youth for. Thinking that such a group would fall at the hands of such a narrow-minded and dumb young alliance leader, I would jump out from my grave even if I had died. After thinking all that he says, even if I have to die, I will remove the cancer from the group before I die. So we will survive this place. Then Wan tells him, looks like it was good that we took a rest. We would have ran into them even if we kept on running. And asks him now, what will you do? After that Gu Jungseo replies, it's been over half a year since we started this war with the Gongsun clan. They wouldn't let us go even if we told them that we would withdraw. And asks Wan that so, should we just face them head on? After listening to him Wan replies, looks like you're prepared to face death. Then Gu Jungseo tells him no, this guy, Gujungseo, will definitely return alive. Although I'm a bit tired, this many people aren't something I can't handle. Especially when I don't need to worry about getting attacked from behind. It won't be easy. There's someone I know on that side. Gong Sonwoo, the heavenly divine sword. After saying all that he thinks, why didn't I think about this? If Gongsun clan were to try and block us with just these people, wouldn't they be Gongsun Wu and his Dragon Tiger Sword Squad? That's also called the Divine Sword Squad. Damn it, what am I thinking about? Forget Gongsun Wu, even if I were to face the Grim Reaper, I can't just give up my life so easily. After thinking all that he asks Wan Nahan, can you take on Gongsun Wu? Then Wan Nahan replies, ha, I was planning on lowering my tail and running away, but it looks like I ran into someone who wouldn't just let me go. It'll only be a moment. Gongsun Wu isn't someone that I can handle, so I will retreat disregarding my image if I feel that my loss is evident. You should take care of the rest. After listening to him Gu Jungseo thinks no, he's already proclaimed to cut ties with the Bloody Wing Alliance. It'll be possible to deal with the rest since he said that he would hold him even for a moment. Then he tells his group members that although we might not compare to the Dragon Tiger Sword Squad, we, the Bloody Wing Alliance, are also one of the top groups. I never thought I'd end up saying something like this to you guys. But here I go. Those are some strong bastards. However, you guys are also strong. Don't forget that. You guys are the elites of the Bloody Wing Alliance, the Bloody Dragon Squad at that. Let's not have those who were taken down before us look down on us when we get to the underworld to live an honorable life. After that Wan Nahan says the water is shallow and the mud is deep, so diving into the river won't be an easy task either. While we will have to fight, if someone manages to save themselves, no one will look down on you. Then after listening to him Gu Jungseo tells him that I barely got their morale up. And asks him, why are you saying such things? After that Wan Nahan says also, Yuk Jiwoon. Hey, I won't be able to protect you today. If you happen to live, you should halt your wanderer's duties. It isn't a lifestyle that suits. After saying that, he takes out his sword and goes forward. Meanwhile, looking at this, that Wan is coming towards them, Woogiong says it looked like they were running away, but here they come. Then Wusang tells him that, brother, they must not know who we are. They're probably looking down on us because of our small numbers. Such pitiful guys. After listening to him, Woogiong gets angry and tells him that, hey, not only are you impatient, but you also think too highly of yourself. Then Wusang asks him, aren't they just some ragtag bunch though? After that, Woogiong replies, a tiger puts their all even when hunting a rabbit. And asks him, can't you feel the aura they're emitting right now? Then he says, if I was able to see the limb-severing demonic blade, he must have seen me too. Even then, they were still able to raise their aura. Don't you know what that means? Do you think you'll be able to survive the day if you keep looking down on your opponents like that? Looking at their aura, it looks like they're planning on fighting till annihilation. If there's anyone like Wusang who is looking down on them, you should throw those thoughts away. There better not be tears falling from these eyes of mine after this battle is over. Meanwhile, moving forward towards Wan Nahan, he thinks the opponent is the limb-severing demonic blade, Wan Nahan. But can I guarantee that they won't resent Mui? After which they face each other by standing in front of each other. Then Wan Nahan tells him, it's been a while, big bro. Gongsun. After which Woogiong replies, you're right, big bro Wan. And asks him, it's been 5 years since I last saw you in the mountains, right? Then Wan Nahan replies, 5 years. Man, time sure flies. Aren't you being a bit too much though? We've been running without even being able to clash our blades even once. But for someone like you to block our path, they say you should leave an escape path even when chasing a rat. After listening to him, Woogiong says, how embarrassing. But we aren't after some mere rat, but after a tiger. If we are able to take both you and the Bloody Dragon squad out, we'll be able to end this painfully prolonged war. This is what Gongsun Wu believes to lead to the least amount of bloodshed. Hence why I'm at this place right now. Then Wan Nahan says, oh, to think so highly of a mercenary like me, who just moves around for money. Should I be thankful? After which everyone takes out their swords and gets ready for the battle between them. Then Wan Nahan tells him that, big bro Gongsun, I have a request. The result of our duel 5 years ago was a bit disappointing. Since we've met like this, let's have the experts go against experts and novices against novices, what do you think? After listening to him, Woogiong gets shocked and asks him, so just the two of us? And also thinks that's not too bad. We'll be able to reduce the casualties from mindlessly fighting. Then suddenly Wan Nahan jumps up to attack Gongsun with his sword. His jump is so high that he is almost 7 feet above the ground. After that, by taking the support of a little wheatgrass, he jumps towards him. This was almost shocking for everyone. How can he jump so high and take the support from a weightless wheatgrass? After that, Woogiong also runs towards him and makes a stare of his sword scabbard, and by taking the support of it, he also jumps high to reach towards Wan Nahan. After looking at this, Wan says, that was an amazing step on the reed to cross the river. To treat your sheath as a reed. Wow, that was creative. Then Gongsun replies, I can't accept such praise. And asks him, how can I brag about my minute skills in front of a real expert? After listening to him, Wan Nahan asks him, oh, could it be that the divine sword is making fun of this lowly nobody? Then Woogiong looks behind and sees that the battle has started between the both groups. After that, he says, how could I? There is one thing that I would like to ask, however. Then Wan Nahan replies, go on. After that, he tells him that I heard that you have 2 creeds you live by. First is to only involve yourself in a fight with a clear cause. Second is to avoid killing as long as your life is not in danger. After listening to him, Wan Nahan replies, that's right. And Woogiong asks him then, what is the reason for your participation in this matter? After that, he also tells him that I'm sure that this matter is due to the Bloody Wing Alliance's young alliance leader, Yu Chunwang, harming our people. It's not like our Gongsun clan doesn't have a cause for the fight. After listening to him, Wan Nahan asks him, are you trying to cover the skies with your hands? And tells him that, as you have stated, the cause of this war is due to Yu Chunwang. However, isn't it too much to ask someone who is the future leader of the group to cut off their arm and to come kneel for forgiveness? From what I hear, although the Bloody Wing Alliance didn't accept your proposal, They have sent apologies and plenty of compensation. But the Gongsun clan did not accept it. Instead of thinking about the face of the clan, they send the young people of the clan into this mess. Will something like this happen if it weren't for the clan's greed to become one of the great clans? So isn't this totally fair? The Bloody Wing Alliance provided the cause, and the Gongsun clan started the fight. After listening to him, Wugiang says, looks like I embarrassed myself by asking something unnecessary. Then Wan Nahan replies, you don't have to mind it. Such words haven't left my mouth before and won't ever leave it again, I will make sure. Since I was able to pad my pockets quite well thanks to this. After which Wugiang says, it's good that you were able to make some money. But how much money is really enough? Although our Gongsun clan isn't rich, if Big Bro Ban were to come to me before the Bloody Wing Alliance, I would have paid you more than them for sure. Wouldn't helping someone weaker be more worth bragging about than bragging about helping someone strong? Besides, if the Bloody Wing Alliance didn't provide the cause, how else would have I gotten the chance to face you like this? Looks like the first scream has come out, meaning that the fight isn't so one-sided. After talking with each other, both of them point their swords at each other. Meanwhile, looking at Wan, Wugiang thinks it's the same situation as when I fought him 5 years ago. After that, Wan jumps and attacks him with his sword, but Wugiang protects himself by using his sword as a shield. And both of their swords collide with each other. Then suddenly Wugiang pushes Wan and his sword hits the ground. After that, Wan again lifts his sword up and attacks Wugiang. Meanwhile, looking at him, Wugiang thinks it's the same situation as when I fought him 5 years ago. Did you call it the half-circle dragon? After that, Wan tries to slash his neck with his sword, but Wugiang bends down and protects himself. Then suddenly he turns around and attacks Wan with his sword, but Wan protects himself and again their swords collide with each other. After that, both of them push each other back. Then Wan puts his sword on his shoulder and tells Wugiang that the start was similar to 5 years ago. But as expected of the divine sword. After listening to him, Wugiang replies, you overpraise me. I just responded on the fly after being surprised by your half-circle dragon. I feel honored just being able to go against your blade again. Then Wan Nahan tells him that it would have been nice if the elders in your clan could have seen your moves just now. Then I would have been able to hear them reminiscing about the olden days. How sad. After listening to him, Wugiang laughs and suddenly points his sword at him and says, now, then. And again both of them start fighting. Meanwhile, on the other hand, both groups started fighting towards each other for their survival. In between them, suddenly Gu Jungxio jumps to attack his enemy. And while fighting, he thinks, looking at it on paper, they're a level above our Bloody Dragon squad. But you can never be sure until you've clashed swords. I don't care about the numbers on the paper. As long as Sir Wan is fighting, our spirits will never die. Meanwhile, when he is going to attack someone from Gongsun's squad, Wu Sang suddenly comes in front of his ally to protect him from Gu Jungxio. And while looking at his energy, Wu Sang thinks, I knew that he was one of the top 10 experts in the Bloody Wing Alliance, but still. Then suddenly both of their swords collide with each other and the fight starts in between them. After that, Gu Jungxio looks behind and sees his group members fighting with the Gongsun squad members. And while looking at this, he thinks, since he's holding back their expert, if 2 to 3 of our men take out one of theirs, Wan will probably be able to survive this. No, that's how it will be. After thinking all that, with full energy he shouts, now, come, and again goes to attack Wu Sang. Meanwhile, looking at his energy, Wu Sang thinks Big Brother said not to get too overconfident. But they're just a bunch of people from the demonic faction. After that, he also shouts, my name's Gongsun Wu Sang. And both of them again start fighting. Meanwhile, fighting Gu Jungxio thinks they aren't so easy to take care of. To think it's so hard to take just one of them down. Looks like it won't be easy to make it out of here alive. Meanwhile, on the other side, Wugiang starts using an ability in which he starts moving faster. And while looking at this, Wan Nahan thinks, I've been watching without blinking, but I'm still unable to pick out the real one. However, if I were to think about it as hallucination, one is the real thing and the rest are just fakes. Although I was relying on my eyes and focusing solely on my own aura. After that, Wugiang runs towards him to attack him, and Wan Nahan starts counting. At 1 he also uses his sword. And in 2 he attacks him with his sword, and in 3 he guards himself with his sword. After that Wan Nahan notices that blood is coming out from his shoulder. And while looking at this he thinks I won't be able to survive if I don't use that move again. Are even the Falun steps not enough to deal with his sword path? I don't want to fight any more than this. If it turns out to be a short fight, we could both fall to each other's hands. However, it'll end up being a painfully long drawn-out fight otherwise. Then Wugiang gets ready to attack him again and Wan Nahan closes his and starts focusing to prepare for his next powerful move. Suddenly his energy gets very high. Then both of them attacks on each other with full power. After that a big blast happens and both of them get injured. Meanwhile looking behind at the battlefield Wugiang thinks if you don't die, I will. If I don't kill, you will. It's something a normal person can't do. That's what a war is. Seeing the death of your family. Your comrades. Seeing the death of your family. They were no longer humans. They were just beasts acting on instinct. After that Wan tells him that I think it'd be best to end it here today. If we were to fight till one of us dies, the fight would drag out too long. I'm fine since all I have is this little life of mine, but don't you have much more to lose? Besides, just take a look at them. I'm sure if it weren't for me you would have thought nothing of those guys. Who are still standing. However, you can see for yourself that your people who lack real-world experience. Aren't able to stop the Bloody Dragon squad and my Wanderer squad. We should end it here for today. A rival like you is hard to come by again in my lifetime. Wouldn't it be sad to end such a relationship here? After listening to him Wugiang deeply thinks that though I've started this embarrassing fight justifying it for a grand cause his words aren't wrong. I was sure to be able to take him down today. But this battle will go on for far too long before concluding. Then Wan says after all, today's opportunity was not something you gained through your efforts, was it? Since you just happened to chance upon it, you have no regret in throwing it away, right? After that Wugiang asks him you knew. Then Wan replies if I didn't realize it after all that's happened, I'd probably have lost my life already. After that Wugiang tells him that let's stop here. And Wan Nahan replies then let's get going. But I wonder if this is enough to stop them. After that both of them jumps and cross the river to stop the fight between their squads. Then both of them command their respective squad to stop. After listening to them everyone stops and stands still and starts looking at them. Meanwhile looking at this Wan Nahan thinks it didn't feel like much time has passed. And Wugiang thinks but including the injured 12 people so many were hurt. After that Wugiang tells his squad members that we're leaving. Collect the corpses and help the injured. Meanwhile he sees that Wusang is still not stopping so he shouts at him to make him stop. After that Wan Nahan says today marks the death of the wandering mercenary Ban Nahan. Then after listening to him Wugiang asks him what are you talking about? After which Wan Nahan replies I have no more reason to get involved in this fight. I know you want to take revenge, but you should take care of the big issues first. Once everything is taken care of, this martial artist, Ban Nahan, will visit your great Gongsun clan to request a duel. After listening to him Wugiang thinks great Gongsun clan. Yeah, if the limb-severing demonic blade drops out, it will be easier to handle things. After thinking all that he asks Wan Nahan that then what do you plan on doing now? Then Wan Nahan replies like the lion in Buddhist scriptures, I'll be going alone with the wind. After that the storyteller tells everyone that's how the duel between the two ended. I know you're curious about what happens after, but think about it. Although we started the story with the divine sword and demonic blade, it isn't the story you wanted to hear. Didn't you want to hear about that person? About a certain cook. After listening to him people start asking him what cook. Where did the cook come from? Then he replies no, you shouldn't look down on the cook in a MURIM story. Don't they say that experts enjoy cooking? The rumor that the greatest expert of the Shaolin Temple spends time in the kitchen didn't come from nowhere. I'm sorry for saying such unnecessary things. However, I've really thought about it a lot. About how to make that person's story effective and entertaining. It was necessary. You may have a lot to say right now, but please listen before you judge. Since you'll know why it was necessary once you listen to the story. I'll talk about the cook now. After that the story starts from the kitchen where a guy is cutting a vegetable with a knife. Then suddenly a guy comes there and tells him that you've picked the right ingredients and your technique has improved. Looks like 6 months of training was indeed effective. After listening to him he replies, "Thank you, big brother." Then that guy tells him that the sea cucumbers aren't something we usually serve. But it's something you should be familiar with since our boss asks for it often. I'm sure you've practiced behind my back. You can cook it by yourself, right? After listening to him he replies, "Of course. I've cooked it tens of times behind your back." Then he asks him, "So, you're saying you've used a lot of those expensive ingredients, huh?" After which he replies, "No, that's not it. I just used leftover food and ingredients to practice." Then he tells him, "I'll wait outside. The head chef and the owner are also waiting. Prepare a couple of dishes and bring them out yourself." After listening to him he gets shocked and asks him, "Are you serious? You want me to prepare the dishes myself?" And at last he tells him that I will do my best. "Thank you, big brother." Meanwhile later at the heavenly sent manor the cook goes outside to meet the owner. After that the owner tells him it's already been 20 years. And he replies, "Right, time passes so fast." Then the owner tells him that it does indeed. The flood that year was really bad. Many people lost their house, and so many kids become orphans wandering the streets. After listening to him he replies, "That's right. This was the time you took me in too." Then the owner says, "And now, that kid is trying to leave the nest." After which he says that, "I'm sorry, owner." Then the owner tells him, No, I should be the one that is apologizing. I met my love when I was nearly 50. I was so happy that I had forgotten that I took you in. When I remembered a couple of years later, you had already taken up the knife. You grew up well, but if I had paid attention to you back then you could have become the best chef in this place. It was my lack of attention." Then he replies, "That's not true. How could I have made such progress had you not taken me in back then? I would have either died of hunger, or wandered around as a bandit, angry at the world. However, thanks to you, I was able to learn a skill that allowed me to provide for my own family. You were always my role model and will continue to be forever. However, to leave without paying you back for such a big favor, I must be a really ungrateful person to you." After that suddenly the head chef comes there and shouts at him, "That's right, you punk. You really are ungrateful. I put so much effort into teaching you, and just when I was thinking things would get easy, you decided to throw me back in the kitchen, you brat. You bastard. Foolish one at that. You wouldn't have any problems providing for your family even if you stayed here. Why are you going out of your way to dive into hardships?" Then he replies, "I'm sorry, master." After which the head chef asks him, "Anyway, is Ah Young doing well? She's expecting soon, right?" Then he replies, "Yeah, Dr. Moon said she'd be expecting in 4 months. After that the head chef says, "How do you plan on handling this?" He's thinking of standing on his own now that he's soon to be a father. Although we shouldn't block his path, it's not like he'd listen even if we told him. Since he's one to see things through to the end. Have you decided on the store's name? After listening to him he also asks him, "How could an uneducated person like me make up a name?" Ah Young thought that White Scent Manor would be a good name though. What do you think? Then the head chef replies, "White Scent Manor, so it's a lowered version of the Heavenly Scent Manor." And asks him, "Do you plan on doing the same food as here?" Then he replies, "No, master. I'll serve mushroom dishes during the day and chicken and pork as the main ingredient during nights." After which the head chef tells him, "Hey, think how many dishes have I taught you?" Then he replies, "I won't be able to procure the ingredients this place gets as I am now." And asks him besides, "How many people can eat such quality food in this place, Hatong?" After listening to him the owner tells him that that's true. The people in Hatong aren't that well off after all. Then replies, "Fortunately, Bang Gigshu said that he would provide chicken and pork cheaply. So I am ready to take on the challenge." After listening to him the head chef says Bang he also saved some Monu working here. Looks like he hasn't forgotten his roots. Then the owner says, "To tell you the truth, I won't be worried wherever you decide to go. What I'm worried about, however, are those thugs who call themselves the Red Snake Group." After which he replies, "You don't have to worry about it if you're talking about them. I have an acquaintance in that Group called Cho and he said he'd look out for me. So they shouldn't ask for too much. Then the owner tells him that's good. After that Wangchul serves the food to them. Then he tells everyone that please try it, and if Wangchul's cooking doesn't satisfy you, I will delay my departure a bit. After listening to him the owner says so that's why you were so tough on him lately. Then the head chef says let's try it. And tells Wangchul that you should prepare yourself for a beating too if it isn't good. After that the owner looks at him and tells him come see me whenever you need my help. With your personality, I know you will try to resolve everything by yourself. But kitchen work and running a business are two totally different things. You know very little, so you are welcome for guidance here and at Ime. After listening to him he bows down and tells him that I'm grateful that you took me and raised me, owner. Then after looking at his respect towards them the owner and the head chef smiles with happiness. Meanwhile later while standing in front of an entrance he thinks it's close by so it isn't like I can't stop by any time. But now isn't the time to have doubts. I know it will be hard, but it's for a better future. Even if I can turn back, I won't do it. I can do this myself. Bosik Bridge. It's a 10 years old bridge that had been named the 10,000 Miles Bridge. It's the bridge that connects Hatong and Sangtong. But the difference between the two sides is enormous. I will cross over this bridge one day, for sure. Meanwhile later while he is preparing a fish suddenly someone calls him angrily. After listening to her he thinks she never curses just how much pain must she be in. Please be safe. After that he leaves his fish and goes outside. And sits outside in the waiting area of the hospital. After that suddenly the door opens and he asks how did it go. Then an old lady comes out of it and asks him what do you mean how did it go? You should have heard the child's cry. Don't you know how big your wife's ass is? It was successful. A boy, it's a boy. After listening to her he starts crying and says thank you to her. After that the old lady tells him stop that. You'll pull your back like that. And asks him are you not going to have a second child? After that he asks her can I go inside? Then she replies wait a bit. First go get the water I told you to heat up. After that he runs outside to take the water and while taking the water he sees his face in the water. After that he gives the water to them. Meanwhile a few hours later a girl calls him inside. Then he comes inside and sees his baby and his wife. After that he holds his wife's hand and tells her that it must have been hard on you. Really, really hard. Also, thank you so much. Then he looks at his baby and smiles with happiness. What will gonna happen next? Will the story continue peacefully or something bad is going to happen next? To find out, do like, share, subscribe and comment down if you want part 2 as soon as possible.